welcome back. Ooh, gotta remove that. Welcome back to another exciting episode right here on a Tuesday night Seek and Advice podcast show. I am your host, of course, Dale, and we have another amazing show happening with us tonight. I've got two amazing guys backstage, and we're going to talk to them in just a little bit. Everybody, welcome to Tuesday. We made it through Monday. We're now at Tuesday. This is a good thing. We're one step closer to a Friday. Just been living the dream. Like I said, a lot of great things are happening for me, and not only this, but our we just debuted the Paranormal Voice first episode of 2025. Just dropped this Sunday with my amazing guest Katie Turner, psychic medium, right here from my own backyard, right up the road from me in Ontario, just around the Muskoka area of Ontario, if you know where that is. Very beautiful part of Ontario. So, yeah, if you did not catch that episode, please go over to the Paranormal Voice YouTube channel. Catch that episode. It was really, really amazing show. Looking forward to even more shows coming up. So, Paranormal Voice will be airing every Sunday at 8 p.m. right now. We're also on KGRA Digital Media, which drops every Saturday at 1 a.m. And we are moving over to the XL network where once I get the dates and times for those shows, I'll be happy to drop you both the Seeking Vibes podcast and the Paranormal Voice will be over on the XL network. Of course, put on by our lovely uh, Gigi, who is Paranormal XL and Killer Chronicle Kitchen. So yeah, she's starting her own network. So we are going to be popping in over there with our shows as well. So before I bring out my guests, I haven't done this in a while. It was always my favorite part of the show. I always like to start things off with song lyrics because for me, music has always been a big, huge part of my life. So I always relate a lot of things that I'm going through with songs, and this song is no different. Now, this is from a band, it's called Disturbed, their song called The Light. So I'm not going to read out the whole song, just the key parts of it, stuff that really I find really talks to, and I think it's going to tie in very well with today's show. So it all starts out as like an unsung melody. The truth is waiting there for you to find it, but it's not a delight. It's a remedy, a clear reminder of how it begins. In the deep, deep inside your memory, you turn away as you struggle to find it. You hear it call as you walk away. A voice comes from within the silence, and for what seems like an eternity, you waited and hoped it would call out again. You heard the shadows beckoning, then your fears seem to keep you blinded. You've held your guard, you've walked away. When you think it's all forsaken, you listen to me now because sometimes the darkness can show you the light. And with mental health and the struggles that people deal with on going through mental illnesses and health and depression and anxiety and every other type of mental health struggles that a lot of people in this world deal with, uh, it's always struggling to find that light because you always feel like you're living in a darkness. So, yes, always know that the light, darkness will always lead you into the light, and always reach out, always talk about it, and that's what we're doing here today with this show is definitely breaking the stigma of men talking about their mental illness and what we deal with as men, because for the longest time a lot of society thought men were never supposed to talk about their issues and not have problems, but with that being said, just a quick thing right now before I bring my buddies out here. This little guy right here, this is William, who is 17 months old. William is also dealing with cancer. The family is going through the treatments with him right now. He will be on treatments now for the next 2 years of his life as he deals with this. So they are out there trying to raise money to help offset the cost of the medications and the treatments that this little boy has to go through. So you see the QR code; it's up here on the screen. It'll take you right to the GoFundMe page. If you can help this family out, that would be awesome. But if anything, the least you could do is say a prayer for this little boy and share out his story because it is truly remarkable. And like I've always said, with Shaylee and many, many other kids that I know that are going through cancer right now, we're all praying for them. We're all keeping them in our thoughts and prayers. And we know that they're all going to make it out on the other side. So say a prayer for little William here. And like I said, if you can, go to the GoFundMe page, help out if you can. But if not, you can at least say a prayer and share out his story so the family can spread the word about this little guy. So, with that being said, right now I'm going to bring out two really cool guys. One I've known for a while, and one I'm just getting to know. So I'm looking forward to this. It's always a great show when I get to talk about mental health with my friends. So this way here, it's breaking the stigma of what we're all going through. So right now, host of Curious Compass of Curiosities, hosted every Monday night. The host himself, Mr. Russ Stiver. I better take another drink. I'm not nearly awake yet.
No,
And
you're fine.
Jeremy
Hi,
Cotter, is it?
Jeremy Cotter. Yep. Nice to meet you guys.
Welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you, Jeremy.
Hey, you too, Russ. Haven't known you for no, I'm just kidding. I've known Russ for a long time now, so it's cool. You know.
I mean, so thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the show. I know we are going to continuously break this barrier that I like to call the big stigma that men are not supposed to talk about their mental health. We're supposed to be big, burly guys who don't have any problems. But statistically speaking, right now, I mean, when you really look at the statistics of mental health, it is a lot of men right now who are dealing with mental health, and it's not something we need to be quiet about anymore. And I'm glad you guys are here to help me talk about it. I'm going to lay the question out there. I don't know which one of you guys want to answer this first. Um, if you can, just tell us a little bit about yourselves and kind of like how long you've been dealing with any type of mental health issue.
Go
Jeremy, I'll
ahead.
direct the question to you first.
Oh, thanks, buddy. No, so yeah. I mean, I've been dealing with my mental health issues for a good amount of time now. Probably more so in the last 10 years or so, but probably goes back even further than that. Um, I was a professional wrestler for about 20 years in the independent circuit, working throughout the Northeast and certain parts across the country and stuff like that. And then, I stopped doing that around 2011 or so. And then I started helping out with like backstage production kind of stuff, like matches, angles, whatnot, and so forth. And then I met Russ through the paranormal. My wife and I got involved in the paranormal, and that was, it's been an interesting journey through all the paranormal stuff. And I think the main my first main spot with like dealing with my mental illness or even dealing with like mental, sensitivities was when I lost my mom to cancer in 2007, and that was very rough. We just celebrated her passing the anniversary of her passing was right around the 31st of March. So it's still it's raw. It's been 18 years, but it feels like could have been like yesterday. And
Yeah.
then I lost my father last July to stroke complications, and Russ knows I was extremely close to my father, and I'm still dealing with that all the time. I do see a therapist every 2 weeks. It took a long time for me and my stubborn pride to actually get a therapist
Yeah.
because um I was a child of the 70s and the 70s and the 80s and stuff like that. Guys aren't supposed to show that kind of vulnerability. You're just supposed to suck it up, tuck it in, file it away, and then, that's pretty much, I finally have identified like trying to like work through issues or at least
Right.
trying to comfortable with them within the last year or so through therapy. Before that, I tried to do it on my own, and it yielded some results. But unfortunately, it's
Right.
like a roller coaster. You know,
Yeah,
if
no,
that
absolutely. It's mental health is a roller coaster because you can go through so many things in a single day. You can wake up being the happiest guy in the world, and then something triggers you, and then now you're having the crappiest day, and then all of a sudden you can start bringing yourself out by the end of the day. But oh yeah, it's yeah, I can totally understand that and understand where that part comes from as being on the roller coaster that you can just never seem to get off of.
yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. How about you, Russ?
I mean, at my age, I'm going to be 41 in 12 days.
Wow, you're still a
Um,
baby.
I am. So, but just
Yes,
because of
kid.
my age doesn't mean I haven't experienced a lot in my life.
Yeah.
Some fortunate, some unfortunate.
Right.
You reading that song lyric in your intro and everything made me think of the great 1994 movie The Crow and the line
Yeah.
from it can't rain all the time.
Absolutely. One of my favorite movies of all time.
And that's the truth of it. It can't rain all the time. It is
Right.
honestly depending on your outlook on what you have.
Right.
Um, you can let it. And Jeremy and I mean, Jeremy is one of my best friends, and him and I talk to each other every day, literally every day. We have a schedule down to the
Pretty
point
much.
I can look at my phone and go 3, 2, 1. Okay, there's a phone call. You know, but it's helped him and I both because him
Right.
and I both have struggled with, depression, anxiety, things like that.
Right.
So having that sounding board and somebody you can trust to talk to, it does really help. I mean, it's all about your support system you have around you.
Yes.
And there are days when Jeremy and I don't talk because there's like, hey, maybe I'm feeling off one day and I'm just like, I don't really feel like talking today. And then there's other days that he'll be the same way. And that's perfectly fine. You can't force somebody into something like that. They have to be willing to open up to you. I got
Yeah.
into therapy probably about a year ago. It took me a long time to actually finally admit that, yeah, I probably need somebody to talk to.
Right.
Um, and even me being as young as I was, born in 84. I was brought up in the late 80s, early 90s. Even then, back then, we were told as kids, as men, that you don't show emotion. You don't let anybody like. I think that's still one of the main lines out of my dad's mouth was, "You don't let anybody see you cry."
Right.
And honestly, for any guys listening out there, that is a bunch of malarkey and furthest from the truth it can possibly be. Because if you're reaching the point in your depression and your anxiety where you're crying, then that's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. And this is coming from a guy when I am up there speaking, doing public talks. I do talk about my mental health now. I mean, it's taken me quite a long time to talk about it and open up about it, especially in a public setting to a bunch of people I don't know. And
Mhm.
to me, yeah, I can't tell you how many people I've cried in front of because it's hard, but I mean, at the same time, it shows us as guys are human and we have the right to show emotions and show what's affected us. Jeremy, I can relate with you. I lost my dad in 2005,
Yeah.
and that still affects me to this day. Uh, where I people always say time you get better with time. No, you just learn how to deal with it in time to a point where it's not you where it doesn't affect your everyday life. But yeah, so losing a parent, especially somebody you're so close to, like my dad was my best friend. We traveled the road together all summers. Like that was my favorite time of the years because I knew I was going on a road trip with my dad to the east coast of Canada, and we're gonna hang out. And I'm like, this is the greatest part of my life. And when he passed, it was like, not only did I lose my parent, but I lost somebody I trusted so much. Somebody who was there for me for so through so many heartaches, and that he was gone, and I just felt like I was lost. It's like you're losing a best friend, somebody you're so used to talking to.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I can relate to you on losing a parent and the struggles of that. I mean, it's like I said, it's 20. It'll be 20 years in October,
Yeah.
and today, I can't tell you what I did yesterday, but I can relive the day my dad died like it was yesterday.
Oh, I can relive the day
It's
that my mom.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I can relive the day that when my mom passed away. I was actually doing a wrestling show down in the Cape. I was in the ring doing a battle royal, and I won the battle royal. And this is no word of a lie. I raised my hand up in victory, and I had my mom's initials written on my hand because she was like on the final stages of cancer. And when I raised my arm up in victory, she ended up passing it like a few minutes later. And I didn't even know that till
Wow.
like on the way home from there to my house at like midnight. I called my father, to find out what time to come over and be with mom, and he told me that she had passed. And my wife, my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, she had to catch me because I almost fell on the floor. And that was the first time I ever showed that much vulnerability in front of anybody, to be honest with you.
Right.
And especially being like a side note, being a wrestler as well as being a
Right.
middle-aged guy too. When
Yeah.
you're a wrestler, fans or even nobody wants to see you vulnerable. You're in a room full of guys in a locker room getting dressed, getting ready for a show. You can't show any kind of vulnerability or any of that
Right.
kind of stuff in the back. Even if you're friends with these people, you know, there's a certain stigma, I hate to say it, that goes along with like sports
Yeah.
entertainers, wrestlers, athletes, whatever you want to call it, on top of it, you know. And that was such a huge problem. If it wasn't for my dad, I would never have been involved in professional wrestling in the first place. So every time I
Right.
watch it on TV, or I look at my old pictures in my photo albums of my younger days wrestling, I always think about my dad, and I mean that hurts too. And my mom,
Yeah.
even though she's been gone since '07, that one hurts too. He passed away, and I couldn't even see him for the last couple of years because of the COVID and all the infractions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just didn't have the ability to get down there. And by the time I was actually trying to get money together to go see him, I got the phone call that he had passed away. And, it felt like my universe exploded. Because, like you said, losing your parent, I mean, my closest confidant, just my idol, my hero, I lost
Yeah.
in an instant,
Yeah.
and in order to try to get through at least a little bit in my head, Russ knows, my wife and I packed up and we went to Gettysburg for the Battlefield Bash to be around friends and stuff like that, to try to distract myself. I even
Yeah.
got a memorial tattoo done for my father. I apologize for rambling. I didn't mean to,
Yeah. No.
take
No.
it, but
Hey,
this is
this is what this show's all about. It's talking. It's about getting those emotions out and what really truly affects us. Now, for me, when I first started out, when I was diagnosed with uh, my depression and anxiety, it was like, yeah, I did the whole therapist thing and drugs, or not drugs, I shouldn't say drugs, medication for it
okay.
to
Well,
help it out.
let's
Um,
call a spade what a spade is. I mean, it's pretty much they'll just toss any pill at anyone just to,
yeah,
you
but
know.
I
yeah,
tried
no,
them. Oh my god.
yeah, I never liked how they made me feel. They made me not feel like myself. I was just I always felt like anytime that I took them, that I was always something else or somebody else. It's like I was walking around.
Like a zombie.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and so
Mhm.
and just after a while, I just wasn't getting anywhere with the therapy. Like talking to these people, yeah, it helped. It kind of opened me up a little, but then I just started digging down rabbit holes, doing my own research, kind of just taking what the doctors have always told me and work with it to see how, like, a lot of these self-help books and watching other programs and stuff like that. So that's how I deal with it now. I say that I'm self uh, therapeutic to myself because I talk to myself all day long. But I do have, like, my good friend Michael John. He's my brother. We've known each other since grade 5, and like his struggles in his life, and you would get along with him, Jeremy. He's actually a professional wrestler.
Oh, very cool.
He's known as Irish Bobby Clancy. He right now he's working for NCG Wrestling. But
Okay.
he's been a wrestler since the 80s or no, 90s. I would say 90s. Yeah, not 80s,
Yeah,
90s.
I did it from like 1991 to 2011, so I was in it
Yeah.
for a good stretch.
I know he was in it for about 10 years. He did stunts with WCW, WWF at that time. He was the jobber guy that went into the
Oh yeah,
ring
I'm familiar.
and wrestled those guys on Saturday. But locally here, like he's a huge wrestling star around here.
Good.
He just got back into wrestling again about I want to say about a year ago now. It must be going on close to a year now. But he can't wrestle because he had a heart attack about I want to say about close to 10 years ago now. I think 8, 9 years ago. So his heart doesn't work as much, but he's had the opportunity to go back and be a part of a promotion. Actually, the people who started the promotion were huge fans of his when they were younger. And so they
Okay.
always wanted to start a wrestling organization. So here they did. They did that. But, Michael John, like him and myself, yeah, we're just like you guys. Like we're always there for each other. I can confide in him, and no matter what it is, I can't even tell you how many times he's seen me cry. So, and vice versa. It's like seeing him cry. But yeah, I can understand the stigma of being a big, tough professional wrestler and you can't go into the locker room and talk about what's bothering you or even cry, because
Oh God, no.
that's just not what they want to see,
No, I mean, especially since I did the wrestling, I was trained by Killer Kowalski out of Massachusetts back in the early '90s. So I mean, I had the old school
Nice.
training, and no matter how hard you got hit, you weren't supposed to show it for real. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in wrestling, and guys that are in it longer and longer. I got out of it because my body just wouldn't let me do it anymore, and that was
Right.
a real big blow to my mental capacity. Was when I wasn't allowed to actually get back in and do it. And I tried to do one last match in 2013, and then I realized why my wife got me to quit because my body just couldn't take it anymore. Even
Right.
though
Yeah.
I only did like a 2-minute match just for the fans, just to entertain
Right.
people. But I
Right.
mean, yeah,
Right.
I mean, the two closest people in my life that I talk to are Russ and my wife. They're the two, my two biggest confidants, that I talk to. So
Absolutely awesome.
Mhm.
So what about you, Russ?
You know what? I've never been one to shy away from telling people, what's going on, how I feel, things like that. I mean, there are times that I hold things into myself a little bit just because, I know the right time, right place to approach things.
Right.
You know, but I've gone through the same stigma of, I lost my grandmother who was like a parent to me in 2010. And it's actually coming up. The month of April is always hard for me because my birthday is right at the end of the month, and I've always hated my birthday just because it hasn't been very good for me, I guess you could say. And then shortly after that, about 10 days later, my grandmother passed away. So I always associate that time with that happening.
Right.
But I mean, it's one of those things where it is almost beating a dead horse, and you could tell everybody that I'm here for you to talk to, but that person has to feel comfortable enough to be able to confide in with you with something and things like
Right.
that. A lot of the times, I know, especially for me, a lot of the times of it is you have people like, oh, I'm always here. You can always talk to me. You could do, and maybe there's some serious shit going on in my life. And, I'm going to feel like if I tell you what's actually going on, you're going to judge me
Right. Right.
for what's going on or how
Right.
I'm feeling or something like that. So you almost kind of have a tendency as a guy. And I mean, I'm sure females are the same way. I mean, I'm not discrediting or discluding them from
No.
this.
No.
But it almost feels like you don't want to talk to anybody because you don't want that judgment. I guess that's why therapy works for some people, because you're
Right.
going to somebody that you've never met before. You don't know.
Right.
They know
Right.
nothing about you.
Right.
But like, with Jeremy and I mean, Jeremy and I have known each other for 8 years now.
Yep.
Something like that.
They're on there, yeah.
And I know I could, I can call up Jeremy tonight after the show and be like, hey man, this happened to me. And it could be the most disgusting, messed up thing ever.
Right.
Or it could be like something that was like, hey, I saw this video and it really made me think like, it made me think of us. It made me think of like, the best friend mentality and being able to confide in somebody and things like that. And we've had those conversations before. Like there have been points where we've gone from one extreme to another, but that's the great thing about it is like when Jeremy and I have our phone calls and our conversations and everything, it's normally like your everyday shoot the shit. How's life going? How's the day going? Things like that. And then we get into little bits of things. It's like, hey, did you see this on Facebook? Or, hey, this happened to me today. And, whatever. It's nice to have somebody in your life that is in what I call them isn't the one-uppers.
Right.
They're like, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you. But you know what? That happened to me too. But.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because it makes you feel like you're like, okay, cool. I just told you and like bared my soul to you. And now we're shifting to you. And it's kind of like.
Yeah. It's there's certain situations for everything, right? And being a one-upper during a conversation with somebody is, well, my light just went out.
I was gonna say it's got dark over there.
It's a stroke of midnight. Doug Ford hit the wrong button. No, sorry.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
No, but yeah, no. Holy cow! What is going on with this thing?
It has a mind of its own over there.
It's possessed. Russ, I need an exorcism.
Watch out, the light
priest and an old priest.
Yeah, send over an exorcist priest. Hurry, stat. No, but you just want somebody to sit there and listen to you, not judge you. And it's not even about giving any advice. You just want somebody to listen to you. And this is where Michael John is good with me. And I mean, I don't know if you guys are the same way, but as somebody who struggles, of course, your always go-to is I'm fine. I'll try that shit with Michael John, and Michael John would be like, "Okay, buddy, try again.
Bullshit.
What's going on?" Because he goes, and he's on the phone, and he's like, "I already know something's wrong because I can tell it in your voice. I can tell it." And he'll just list off the ways he can tell when I'm not fine, but yet I'm telling him I'm fine, and he'll just say, "Bullshit." Now, just
with Jeremy
what's
and
going
I,
on?
like, him and I text each other throughout the day when he's at work and everything, and he tells me about things that are going on at his work and everything. And the same thing when I work for Spirit, I tell him all about what's going on and everything. And it's gone to the point with Jeremy and I that I can tell the certain nuances of his texts.
Yeah, and vice versa.
So I know something's off. You're not responding the way you normally do. Something's going on. What's up?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
And it's one of those connections as to being able to realize that. And that's one of the things that's great about the mental health thing. And it made me realize a couple months ago was that it's almost a pot kettle situation because you can sit there and you're like, I can talk to Jeremy and he's like, no, everything's okay. Everything's fine. And I'm like, bullshit. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. I'm here. Talk to me, do whatever. But if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd be like, no, I'm good, man. No, something's off with you. I could tell by the way you're messaging. And I even still try to play it off as, no, everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And I know you play shit, so.
Exactly. I mean, we know to call each other on our bullshit. And that's the biggest thing.
I think the most important thing, yeah.
Oh. No, go ahead, Jeremy.
I think the most important thing is that, especially when it comes to Russ and I, that we don't try to put those fake nuances out there. Maybe for a while, yeah, but we kind of like give up on that. It's like when he's having a bad day, he's like, man, today sucks. And then, if I'm doing it, I'm like, man, this day is a dumpster fire. Whether it's work or whether you wake up not feeling well mentally or your body is hurting you to the point where you just like want to throw your fist through a wall. But we've given up on that, and I think that that's what makes our friendship and our brotherhood so strong is that we gave up on the fucking fake bullshit.
Well,
Right.
Jeremy and I have a real fun thing because him and I both have the typical guy response of like, he'll tell me something that happened to him at work or whatever, and of course, me being the person I am, I always use humor as a diffusing situation
Right.
or a diffusing mechanism, and I'll make some sort of off the wall joke about something similar to what's happening to him now and everything, and it's one of those, like, I know it's not going to fix things, but it kind of gets your mind going like, okay, that's kind of funny. Oh, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I think it is.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Yeah. When you're in the middle of something, it's. I mean, to people on the outside looking in, it might not be a big deal, but to us at that moment, it's like you might as well just say the Earth is ending because I can't deal with this.
I'm
So
still
it,
here. I
it
just had to jump off camera for a second.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no. But it's always good to know that you guys have somebody you can trust, you can turn to, and you feel confident enough to say what is going through your mind and what you're dealing with, and just having him like crack a joke, you can then it starts breaking the mood a little bit.
Yep.
Uh, I'll ask you first, Jeremy, and then when
Yeah.
Russ comes back, he can answer the question.
Yeah.
Uh, what are some of the things that you do uh, when you're having a bad day? You're really struggling. Russ is maybe at work. He's not available. What are some of the stuff that you do for yourself to try to get yourself going and get yourself out of this feeling, this funk, this however you want to describe
Well,
it?
all right. So basically, I work in a hospital. Okay,
Okay.
I work in nutritional services in a hospital. Delivering patients meals on the weekends, and I take care of stocking all of the kitchenettes for the patients on the patient floors and stuff like that. So you're around a cavalcade of like sickness and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And some days the days go good, sometimes they go. So I'm going to get to what you were saying. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to paint the picture. So
Yep.
like when I'm at work, I try to immerse myself in work. Like if I try to like really like focus hard. I do have a couple of really good friends at work that I can talk to maybe if I have to, but everybody's pretty busy, especially trying to keep the food prepared and everything like that.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
when I'm not working, I've started to use meditation a little bit, a couple of days a week,
Okay.
like if like a guided meditation or like something to calm the mind down. Um, a long time ago, I used to rely on like drinking a little bit.
Right.
We're talking. It's been a while. I
Right.
just enjoy beers once in a while with some friends, but it's been a while since I've had a couple of beers. But
Right.
you know, smoking when I was younger was what I use as a coping mechanism sometimes, but I
Right.
gave that up. It's been 20 years since I've touched a cigarette, like 21 years or
Right.
whatever the heck it is. um, at one point in my life, I dealt with using. I hate to say it, I had an opioid issue
Okay.
at one point
Okay.
for a few years due to wrestling, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if it's an underlying thing, but I do think that a lot of my sometimes some of my mental things can be from all the chair shots that I took in professional wrestling and all like the concussions. Some of them
Yeah.
were documented, but I have a lot of them that weren't documented too. So that could have
Right.
definitely caused some issues too. But I like to use meditation, maybe watch something funny on TV or get immersed in a TV show or worst case. I mean, I do have a few other people that I reached out to that I'm not quite as on the level with like I am with Russ, or even like
Right.
with my wife. If like I'll send her a message and be like, "Hey, I'm having a rough day," and she always has the right thing to say or something like that because
Right.
she's like my rock when and I'm glad to have her in my life. So that's
Right.
definitely a huge thing. We've been married for 18 years and we've never had a fight or anything like that in 18 years of marriage. So or 17 years we've been together, or whatever the hell it is. It's been so long now since '07, and you know
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I do have Russ and I have my wife and I have other people that I can say, hey, I'm having a bad day, and like Russ was saying, I hate to say it, I have a lot of friends who are the one-uppers, just like Russ was talking about earlier. And it's like, I'm having a bad day. Oh, really? You should see how my day is going. Okay, let's talk about your day. And then I'll just put my day in my internal filing cabinet and lock it under fuck this. Sorry about that. It's just my just no. I mean that's how I dealt with things for a long time, and I'm definitely more like meditation, relaxing, like watch some TV. Hate to say it, even like I'll fucking sit there and let I'll like sit there and hold my cat. My cat, like he's a big fluffy goofball, and he'll just hanging out with him watching TV sometimes is the best de-stress I can come up with. So.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Russ? What are some of the things that you do if you just at that moment you don't have anybody around? Something you kind of do to try to help you elevate yourself out of your current feeling?
Honestly, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound bad to some people, but it'll probably make some people laugh. And Jeremy knows this. Weed helps a lot. CBD, weed, things like that. It actually does help a lot. Jeremy recently got into CBDs, and I tell you what, I've noticed a difference in him. And I started because I've had 2 major surgeries in the last 2 years of my life, and I refused to take any sort of painkillers or opioids that the doctors were trying to prescribe to me.
Right.
And the doctor, which actually was a very progressive doctor, said, "Well, have you tried, smoking marijuana?" And I was like, "No, I mean, I did when I was a kid, but like I haven't now." And he's like, "Try that for pain management and anxiety and things like that." And it does. It really, honestly does help. It helps me sleep better at night. It actually gets me out of a bad mood. Now I'm not saying I'm walking around 24/7.
Right.
Lit out of my mind. There are times I have very strict rules. I'm going anywhere, I'm not going to do anything. If I'm at work, I'll never do anything. It's just one of those things where it is, if I'm at home, and that's the problem with same thing as our minds. I've been laid up for 6 months now because I haven't been able to work because of, certain medical issues and things like that. And just like your mind, I've been sitting here staring at 4 walls of an apartment, and it gets to you after a while. So to have something to be able to help you escape that a little bit, like I'll take a gummy or something, or smoke something, and toss on a stand-up comedy or something, and just sit here and just zone out and be in my own little world. That kind of what helps me. It used to be back in the day, writing for me. I used to be a big writer back in the day, but I realized after going through those manic episodes, those depression episodes, that I'd look back at what I wrote and be like, maybe I shouldn't be writing. Like, like some of this stuff even kind of scares me a little bit.
But it kind of gives you a glimpse of what you were going through at that moment, right?
It does.
That's the clarity. And I mean, even when we get back into like music and reading lyrics and understanding the lyrics of a lot of songs,
Yep.
like you take for instance like that song by Disturbed, the lead singer. I mean, he openly admitted that he was just one step away from taking his own life.
I've been
And,
there. And
and you
it's
listen
sad to
to
say.
some of the songs that Disturbed has put out over the years, and you're like, holy fuck, he's telling us. He's telling the world. Like, he's struggling, and this is how he's dealing with it.
Perfect example is Chester Bennington from Linkin Park.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's the perfect example of it. And, that's the thing. Like, I've, in all transparency, there have been more times that I'd like to admit that I've attempted.
Right.
Not even contemplated, attempted.
Right.
Agreed. Yeah. I've been.
And some people know about them, some people don't.
Right.
It's one of those things. And, like Jeremy was saying with his like distraction, is because I'm a very big advocate for men's mental health and things like that. My excuse me, my For You page on YouTube for the videos, and also on Facebook for the reels and TikTok and everything, even are aimed a lot at men's mental health. And yeah, there'll be nights I'll just be sitting here alone and in my own thoughts, and I just have my headphones on, and I'm either listening to music or I'm watching stupid videos. And then I start getting on this reel of videos that are dealing with like depression and men's mental health and things like that. And then I start going down that rabbit hole, not necessarily in a bad way, but I've done it to Jeremy before where, it's been 11:30 at night. And I've been sitting here. I know he's already in bed. He wakes up at 3:15 in the morning to go to work, and I'll hear something or I'll watch a video and be like, this reminds me of him. So I send it to him,
Right.
knowing that like eventually he'll get to it and everything. And I'm sure he'll have the same appreciation
Mhm.
that I had when I sent
Right.
it as him seeing it. So, I mean,
Right.
with that, the whole video deep dive is a really double-edged sword because it could take you in a good mental path by
Right.
showing you stupid videos and making you laugh, or it could take you in a different direction and be like really focused on yourself and actually like know that there's other people out there that are going through the same issues. And
Right.
that's the biggest thing about men's mental health is it's being able to feel like you're in company.
Right.
Years ago, I mean, I'll compare it to the paranormal field. Years
Mm.
and years ago, the paranormal field was a stigma to talk about. No one
Right.
really wanted to talk about it. It was such a hush-hush situation. Now, compare this to men's mental health. Over the last 5 years now, men's mental health has really taken a big step forward with
Yeah.
recognizing and accepting. And I can compare that to the paranormal field because it was so hush for so long. Now it's
Right.
finally starting to come to light, and people are finally starting to notice it and talk about it. And that's what we
Right.
need to do is get on an active conversation and an active thread of people talking about it and being open to it.
Absolutely. I mean, I tell people all the time that if it wasn't for the paranormal, I might not be here today doing what I'm doing because, uh, just like you, Russ, I mean, I've been down that road of of trying to commit suicide, but I said I'm glad if there's anything that I suck at in this life is obviously taking myself out of this world.
Yep.
I
But
always say to myself, I'm alive out of spite. Like,
uh,
there's no other way to explain it. With I mean, medical conditions, my depression, and everything else,
yeah.
I'm literally alive out of spite.
I just say I'm still here just to piss off the rest of the people I didn't get to begin with.
That's
But
spiteful.
no, but but yeah, it is so true, Russ. When you say we need more and more of this right here, what we're doing here today, being open, talking about how things affect us and how we feel and how it's okay to turn to your best friend and somebody and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and you're not going to worry about. And like I said, that's the communication I have with Michael John, and he's just like you, Russ. He'll be at work because sometimes he works overnight shifts, and like 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll hear my messenger go off, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a messenger from Mike, and he's like, just something he saw and thought of, and just to show each other appreciation and something, like, yeah, just keep going, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing awesome. We're always there. We're each other's support. We're each other's cheerleaders and also therapists, right? And like I said, we need to get more comfortable with being okay with talking about it. And people have to, this whole thing the only thing that really irks me is when you open up about it, people just say, well, just suck it up and move on. If it
Yep.
was that freaking easy, I would have sucked it up a whole long time ago. But I mean, it's people that don't want to understand it. They just think it's that easy. But those are the ones who are probably deep down inside suffering, and they just don't have the cojones enough to say anything. But here, we're three guys right here talking about it, and we're okay with it, and we don't care what the rest of the world thinks right now.
I
Agreed.
really honestly don't, I was literally, and that was going to be the wrong context to say that in. I was going to say fun fact, but that was completely the wrong thing with what I'm about to just say. I've experienced a lot of trauma and emotional trauma in my life. My parents have been divorced since I was a young kid. My mom's been married 5 times. So I've had 3 different stepdads. Yes, I know the math doesn't add up there. She was married to my father twice. Talk about some PTSD going on there. But during one of my mother's marriages that she was in, I was molested by a family member. And I told, my mother about it. I told people that were close to me, and they were like, "No, that didn't happen. That would never happen. You're just a kid. You made that up. You had a dream, whatever it may be." And it really it didn't sit right with me. So I kept that buried a long, long time down deep inside me. And I finally was able to actually start opening up to it, about it to other people, because I started realizing that, what my experience could impact somebody and could,
Right.
you know, shine a little light on making them feel comfortable at what happened to them. So that's what I'm hoping to do. I'll share. I'm not afraid to make myself look like an idiot, or, share my experiences and my heartbreak and my trauma if it helps somebody else out there.
Right.
Because me just talking about it helps me.
Right.
But if somebody else out there that's listening realizes, like, wow, he's gone through the same kind of things I have, he would understand.
Right.
That's what means more to me.
Right. Yeah. No. And I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, to be worried about what people are thinking, but my mind is where yours is at, Russ. Is that somebody's going to hear this story? Somebody's going to see this show at some point, see what we're all talking about right here, and go, "Wow, okay, I I can deal with this. This is," and start doing the avenues of, okay, who can I trust? Where do I turn to and talk about? And these are the kinds of things that this show is about, in helping people to understand you are not alone in this world. You're
Yep.
never alone in this world. I'm a complete stranger to many people out there, but anybody who's watching this show always know you can send me a DM and I will talk to you. I will listen to you. I'm
No
not going to
judgment.
judge you because I've been there. I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to be. You can be in a room full of friends, but yet still feel alone.
Oh
All the
yeah.
time. All the time. 100% all the time. I even still feel like that sometimes, to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, uh, a problem with me is I'll get together and hang out with friends. And it's very, because of my health issues and everything, it's been very rare that I've gotten to be able to do that. Um, but if I'm in a group of people or whatever, and like no one's talking to me, or I feel like I'm not being heard or something, in my mind, it starts going of like, oh, well, these people don't like me. They're out to get me, that,
Right.
this, that, everything else. And it could be the furthest thing from that.
Right.
But like in my mind, it's kind of like, this is why I don't talk to people, because no one listens to me.
Right.
So having that person, or having those people that you could talk to, is an amazing thing. And like I said to start the show, it's all about the support system you have, and those people that are behind you, and the ones that that you can talk to.
Mhm.
No, I mean, yeah, it's I to me, there's nothing the worst feeling in the world, Russ. It is, yeah, when you're in a room full of people and you just feel like, okay, nobody's talking to you at this time. You just feel like, okay, what am I even doing here? And I can't even tell you
Exactly.
how many parties I've walked out of because I'm just over sitting in my chair, sitting wherever, nobody's really talking to me. And yeah, I get that mindset. Well, nobody's talking to me, nobody cares about me. So I'm just, and then the
Why am I
next day
even
you get
here?
all kinds of messages. Why'd you leave? Well, because nobody was
And
talking
you
to
know
me.
what?
So what?
That's always the problem. It's always in a hindsight situation, because people are like, "Oh, he left. Why?" And
Right,
then it's like, as a person, you don't want to be like, "Well, I was sitting there for 20 minutes and no one even came up and said hi or talked to me or anything." But you don't want to play that card.
Right.
But also you don't want to be like, well, no one wanted me there anyways.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you don't want to play those cards. And it's kind of like,
But that's how you feel, and I think people need to understand that. And
yeah,
it's not like you want all the attention of the room. You don't want all
no.
the, because I'm the last person who wants all the attention. But
Oh God, yeah.
if you could just find somebody to sit down and chat, kind of socialize with, it makes it that much better. But when everybody else is doing it, and you're the only one that's not really talking, and you might not know everybody in the room, so you're like me.
It's that
Because
whole
of my
syndrome of being
abilities.
picked last in gym
Right.
class.
Yes. But like I usually put it this way is that I'm too shy to approach people because I really don't think anybody's going to be ever interested in me anyways. So it's like I don't approach people. People are like, well, why didn't you approach another group? Well, for one, I don't know them. So what am I supposed to say? Hi, I'm Dale. I suffer from mental illness. You want to be my friend?
And you know what? And that's the sad thing about the thing about this is at our age, it's kind of like, are we done making new friends? Like I've kind of filled up my friend quota already for my lifetime. So I'm kind of like
Pretty
where I'm
much.
sitting right now, I'm kind of good. So I'm like making new friends. Uh,
Eh,
not the greatest thing for me, but I'll
Right.
make acquaintances. I'll meet you. I mean, that's why I do these conventions because I
Right.
love meeting people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am
Um,
very, very, very much an introvert, but when I need to be an extrovert, as Jeremy has seen, especially with the head shaving in Gettysburg last year, I can
That
definitely
was
be an
awesome, by the
extrovert.
way. And that is still, I still look back on those pictures when they pop up every once in a while. And
Oh yeah.
I'm like, there is somebody who's not who is willing to go out on a limb for a cause for
Mm-hmm.
somebody you didn't even know, and
Nope.
that's the beauty of it. Like, you never met Shaylee, nothing. So it's not like she was a niece, a nephew, a cousin,
No.
or what. And here you were willing to raise money and do the most off the wall thing. And I mean, how many people would be that brave
I mean,
to do
shave the
that?
head, shave the beard. I also got waxed. Like, I mean, it was just one of those things where, and the good news about that is Shaylee, God bless her heart,
Yeah.
she's been coming to Boston to do a couple surgeries. And
Oh,
I've been in
nice.
contact with Dan. And I told Dan the next time she comes up for one of her surgeries, if she's feeling well a day after the surgery or a couple days after, I'd love to come and like meet her.
Right.
I'll come up to the hospital and everything like that. I
Right.
just I just want her to be comfortable and her to feel,
Well, yeah, yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
I mean, but I would love to meet Shaylee, because I mean, Dan says she still talks about it.
Yeah.
So which it touches my heart and makes me feel good to knowing that had an impact on somebody that you don't even know, but is doing this gesture for you.
Right. Yeah.
mhm.
And that's the amazing thing about the people in the paranormal community is just how much we are a giving community, and we go to great lengths for people we don't even know to help them out. When, like I said, when one of us goes down, it's a whole community. If we know you or not, will stand up and help out and be a part of whatever it is to help each other out, to be there for each other. And this is why I say the paranormal has always saved my life, because
Hmm.
I've never met some of the greatest people in my life. And even you, Russ, we have never met in person yet.
Yeah.
And here, but yet we will send each other messages every once in a
Oh
while,
yeah.
catch each other's shows. I always keep tabs on what you're up to, and I see the stuff you're going through, and I always say, well, I'm not a religious person, but I'm always saying, you know what, universe, please help out Russ. He's a good guy. He's one of the good ones. We need to keep him here.
Well, you know what? That's why I'm always laughing about my beard. And people are like, why do you let it grow so long and everything? And I will tell you this, this is actually just straight growth from
Yeah.
July. I've not touched my beard since July. So this
Wow.
is all fresh growth. And I'm waiting because I'm going to shave it off again for a charity. I think I may do it at the event in September up in Maine that I'm doing with Jeff Whittam. up at the main Paranormal and Horror Con. We'll find a charity to do it up there, and we'll actually do it at the event. But I always tell people I just have the patience, and it's something that helps me because there are days where I'm like, you know what, I just want to get rid of it. I just want to shave it. I just want it all gone. But then I sit back and realize, you know what, I've had the patience this long to let it grow this long, and it's for a good reason.
Right. Yeah.
That's the same way I approach my problems is, you know what, as long as I have patience and I approach it the correct way, it'll all work out.
Absolutely. Everything always works out in the end. It always find a way. The universe always brings us to where we need to be at the right moment at the right time. People always say, "Well, why does this happen to me?" It's because it's your journey of life and this is what you
Yep.
have to go through. Now, how you deal with it is going to determine just what your next path is going to be. I mean, every decision we make as adults affects our journey's path. And I, for one, are thank God that both you guys are here. You're with us today. You're here to talk about your mental health issues. Uh, it's been a fun hour, gentlemen. Before I let you guys go, I'm going to give you guys the platform. Talk about anything you guys got coming up, anything you guys are doing, any messages to anybody who's watching this show. Uh, let it out. Which one do you guys want to start?
Jeremy, go ahead. I'll let you go ahead and kick it off. I got a little bit more going on than you do, probably. So,
well, probably. I don't know. It is what it is. No, so my big event, like Russ was saying, like I'm gonna be speaking in a panel at the main horror and paranormal convention in September, along with Russ and a bunch of other really good people. Looking forward to being part of that event that our friends Jeff and Ashley have been putting together, and I think it's going to be a groundbreaking event for the whole paranormal and horror community as well. I think it's going to be a great time. I plan on going to check out a couple of conventions. I think I might check out Paracon in Connecticut in July, and basically just trying to do life one day at a time, and whatever little journey decides. If I want to kick up to Salem, Massachusetts, and go do that. But my biggest message to people is that don't be afraid to talk about what's going on. If you need somebody to talk to, find your closest person that you can, and even if it is at all times of the night, like Russ and I have had numerous conversations all around the clock. And even myself, if you want to reach out to me through Facebook or YouTube or whatever, Russ will tell you, I'm not full of shit. If you need to get a hold of somebody, you need to talk to somebody, I am the person you can talk to. I have no problem talking to anybody about anything. Being an extrovert like I am, like I'm glad to talk to anybody anytime if they need help, getting through whatever kind of issues they got, because I love to listen and I love to help people. That's why I got involved with the paranormal. That's why I got involved with learning about mediumship and communicating with spirits and all that. I just enjoy helping people. So, if anybody needs somebody to talk to, I'm always available. You can find me through Facebook and stuff like that, or Instagram and stuff like that. So
nice.
Well, for me, as Dale said in the beginning of the show, Compass Curiosities every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I got a great list of guests coming up. I'm booked out until mid-May right now at this point. So I'm excited about that. Some big things are working on that. And the main Paranormal and Horror Con, that I'm on a panel. Compass Curiosities is actually the official podcast of that convention. So I'm happy about that. So we'll be doing live broadcasting from the event all weekend. And one of the biggest things for me, my grandmother wasn't a very religious person at all, but something that she said to me all the time that stood out to me and stuck out to me and still does to this day is, God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers.
Right.
God's not going to give you something you can't handle.
Right.
So, and that has stuck with me my entire life.
And no truer words than that, my friend. And I grew up listening to that same phrase is that God only puts things in your way that he knows you can handle.
Mhm.
With that being said, I want to thank Jeremy and Russ for taking the time out of their busy schedules to talk to me here on the Seek and Find podcast. It's a pleasure getting to talk to you guys. It's a pleasure breaking the stigma that men are not supposed to have feelings or suffer from mental illness, which is the lowest, biggest crap I've ever heard in this life. Uh, Everybody, please stay tuned. Next week, I have Jamelia McKenzie coming up. Uh, Motivational speaker. She is truly amazing. Some of you guys might know who Jamelia is. She is very she's been her and her husband Kevin are at a lot of the paranormal conventions. They do these amazing tumblers and lots of other really cool knick-knack things. But she's also a motivational speaker. She's coming up next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Brand new episode of Paranormal Voice will be dropping next Sunday at 8 p.m. Stay tuned to everything. Tune in to Compassion of Curiosities every Monday night. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. Jeremy, stay safe, my friend. I hope to meet
Thank
you
you.
somewhere down the road. I was trying to come up to the main paranormal event this year. At the current rate of things, I don't know if I'll be up there, but it sounds like an amazing event. I would love to be able to come up and be a part of it. So hopefully we'll see each other up there. If not, you guys have a good evening. Thank you very much for tuning in. And to everybody who watched the show tonight, tomorrow, or whenever you catch this video, just know that you matter in this life and that you are very loved. So with that, folks, have a good night. We'll see you all next Tuesday.
Thank you.